Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our talk show. Today, I'm interviewing four MBA ITB students. As we can see, we have two guests offline as well as two guests online. Today's talk show will be mostly focusing on business ethics. So before we start, maybe we can introduce ourselves. My name is Sydney. I will be the moderator for tonight. And let's introduce ourselves. We can start with the guest.
Thank you very much, Sydney. Good evening, everybody. So my name is Chris Agriawan. I'm currently working in Pertamina Hulu Mahakam. My background education is petroleum engineering. So I work in Pertamina Hulu Mahakam since 2003. Former company is called Total E&P Indonesia. I currently work in Balikpapan as a dealing department and also in charge of engineering and operations for drilling. So we have currently 100 wells per year with 4 until 5 rigs per year with very busy operations. And so I'm in charge of around 200 people and working a lot with stakeholders like SKK Migas or other service company and also others government relationship. Thank you very much.
Maybe I continue. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Pancar Fransko. Currently, or now, I'm working for PT Kilang Pertamina Balikpapan, one of the national strategic project from Indonesian government. I've been working for around 4 years for this project with my background from electrical engineering. And actually this project intends to expand the existing refinery operations from 260,000 to 360,000 with the increment 100,000 BOPD. So it's targeted to be accomplished on 2024, and it's expected to support the fuel demands of Indonesians on east side of this country. And then this PT Kilang Pertamina Balikpapan, actually one of the affiliates from PT Pertamina Persero, is the state-owned company, oil and gas from Indonesians. That is from myself. Thank you.
We can our online guest.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. My name is Shadarli Isrok, and I currently hold the position of Head of Operation and Fleet Management at Al Nusa Petrofin Integrated Terminal Dumai. And I've been in this role for 4 years now. And as the Head of Operation Fleet Management, my primary responsibility is to ensure the smooth functioning of our fleet vehicle, equipment, and employ around 450 people. And this includes overseeing the maintenance, repair, and availability of our fleet to support our fuel distribution around Riau and North Sumatra. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last guest.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Iski Adriananta. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to introduce myself and share a bit about my professional background. Currently, I'm working at PT Inalum as procurement officer. For the past 1 year, I have had privilege working in the supply chain field. As before, I worked as maintenance engineer for around 8 years. Right now, I have two main stakeholders that are supplier and equipment user with whom I'm frequently dealing with. My educational background is mechanical engineering, and recently I got CSM certification from BNSP, and that has equipped me with a comprehensive understanding of supply chain management. I'm currently studying for pursuing MBA degree at Institut Teknologi Bandung. That's all from me, myself introduction. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for our guests for the introductions. As we can tell, there are several professional backgrounds, so hopefully we can have a fruitful discussion. So moving on, we'll start with our first question. So how do moral foundations and values inform you about your own decision-making, especially in the business context?
So thank you very much for the question, Sydney. So we can start with what is moral and value. Yeah. So moral and value is a belief of personals that's connected to him to perform actions to just it is right or wrong, and then he can measures the actions whether it has a good or bad impact for him or for the other people. So, for examples of moral and belief value is like honesty and justice and respect and fairness and other things that represents a good sides of the people. Now, in terms of business contact and decision making, we have in the business process in Pertamina Hulu Mahakam, especially, we have what we call a committee strategy.
Okay, that sounds like a very interesting topic. Could you elaborate more on this strategy committee or committee strategy?
Thank you. So, a committee strategy is a group of people, head of management, there is gathers every week to value or to re-evaluate whether our decisions in terms of contractuals and related to our stakeholders can be decided to go or no go. So this group of people are usually head of function, head of department, or head of division. Then we regroup every week, and if there is no ethical issue, the decision will just go ahead naturally. But if there is ethical issue, we can bring the subject and discuss again with our stakeholders. For example, like security or legals and contractor or finance related to the what action that we need to take to make our decisions is comply or not. Yeah. After the actions, doing when we are doing the business and perform the actions of our decisions, we can come back to review either our business process is ethical or not. We can consult to an ethicals to the internal audit. We call it internal audit. So there is like a part of organization who can review our business process whether it is still comply or not. If not comply, either we stop or we mitigate with others with other things in order to continue. So that's all in general. We have like committee strategic. We have like consultation with other department, like I mentioned, the security, the finance, the legals, and then we have also the ethicals, the internal audit, yeah, the internal audit to make sure that our business ongoing process are always compliant. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your answer, Mr. Krisa. Maybe next we'll have an answer from one of the online participants. Maybe Mr. Iski, you can help us with this question. How do moral foundations and values inform you about your own decision making, especially in the business context?
Okay, thanks for the questions. In my humble opinion, moral foundation and values have a significant influence on the decision making of individuals, especially in state-owned enterprise, or we used to call BUMN. As we know, BUMN plays a crucial role in the country's economies, and the decision made by individuals within BUMN can have wide-ranging impacts on society and the surrounding environment. I think moral foundation and values can serve as guidance for individuals and in BUMN to determine what is considered right and wrong. Values such as honesty, integrity, social responsibility, transparency, and accountability can assist individuals in making ethical and responsible decisions. It is important to note that different moral foundation and values can affect the decision making of individual in BUMN differently. Therefore, it is necessary to develop a strong self-awareness regarding the health values and engage in continuous ethical reflection and dialogue within the context of work in BUMN. That's all from my answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your answer, Mr. Iski. Maybe we can have Mr. Isroq answer the same question.
Okay. In my opinion, understanding one of moral foundation and values as informed by source models such as opens to change, self-enhancement, conservation, and self-transcendence. It can provide insight into the lens through which ethical decisions are made. It helps us to reflect on what is our priorities and to identify potential biases and to ensure alignment between other personal values and the ethical principle that hold in our business. But in my opinion, in my business, I think the most priorities is the appends to change because the dimensions include values such as self-direction, stimulation, and hedonism is very contrast because in the work field, the individual priorities appends to change may emphasize creativity, innovation, and adaptability. For example, because I work with so many people with different educational background and different cultural background, and sometimes the problem could be very unpredictable. So this is open to change is very priorities for me. Not all problem can be solved in with the standard operating procedure, but we may make ethical decisions that promote sustainability practice, social responsibility, and forward thinking to approach to smooth our business operation. Because we need to take as fast as possible what is the best option to run our decision. We need to inform our leader and management before we run the decision to solve the problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Isroq, for your answer. Maybe we'll have Mr. Panchari. You can explain a little bit about your answer.
All right, thank you, Sydney, for the questions. I think my answer is not far away from the another answers, right? So most of them already highlighted and represented how the moral foundations and also values shall be as the fundamental of decision making in the business context. So because of my positions, maybe I'm not representing myself, my positions earlier. Positions is as the senior project engineer. So in our organizations, absolutely we have a hierarchical organizations. So I'm in the middle positions, and absolutely I have my superordinate managers, and also in my organizations above that still having vice presidents, and then the latest is our board of director, which is reporting to our board of commissioners. So regarding the fundamentals or the foundations, we have the company's values such as 6C, which are confidence, capable, commercial, customer focused, clean, and our values, which is supporting our business context in every sector or every lines. And also we have like a system as our values and also our reference, such as we have good corporate governance that we have to stand for. So we cannot violate this good corporate governance because of we are standing also as employee of state-owned company, which is we are stand still to our government. We have to reporting. We've been monitored and evaluated by the government, by the for example our Ministry of Energy and also our representative in Jakarta in Senayan. So we have to work based on the rules. Up to there, whenever we are in the dilemmatic situations, we have to come back with the what kind of regulation rules and such as limitations that we have to obey regarding that. For example, in this project we are working for many contractors, and every contractors has their own culture, has their own habitual actions, and has their own values. So sometimes we are facing with the different approachment. However, for example, the possibility of corruptions, so we are reporting, for example, every month for the gratifications. Before of starting the project also, we are establishing our commitment, our ethics, and also our code of conduct whenever we are involving into this project. So we are already been unified that we will obey into the regulation and rules from the company and also from the government even. So at the time, same as Pak Chris answers, actually we have some supporting committees which is outside of the core of the business. For example, from the legal, from the internal audit. So they are working with us to guide us whenever we are running this business for the project. So if we are facing, for example, we've been requested by the company, by the government, for example, for the local content. However, we already had the contract with the minimum percentage of the local content. At the end, the government already sent us the order, for example, for the DSAW pipe, that this DSAW pipe, for example, 52 inch that we will bury into the seabeds, that it has to be supplied by our local content. So this kind of situation, sometimes we are in matters of conflict with the contractors because of what? Sometimes the local content doesn't always represent a competitive price. So we are involving, even expensive. So we are involving all parties, all committees, even the government, how we have to decide these situations, because the contractor also will not be sitting only to receive the instruction from the owner. They will fight with us, and we have to negotiate at that time in the tables how to find a win-win solution with this interest from the government, and also how we have to concern with our development from our country for the fabricator of pipe, and also how we deliver this project with the original contractor scope. So at the end, values, moral foundations without any self interest that will bring us to the goals for all parties as the base negotiated result for running this business, especially for the project. That is one of example from our current project execution in the EPC stage. Thank you.
So I just want to add a little bit your comments. So I agree with your comment, because the moral foundations and value is actually it must be incorporated in all our decisions. In our decisions, so this is the moral and value are as a guidance, or it's like a traffic sign, a traffic signs, as to make us be careful whether our decisions include a virtue or not, for the intention of the good for us and other people, If something are wrong, so this value, moral, are makes us remind us, to come back again to the decision, reevaluate again if we include or not this moral and value.
That's kind of promise to ourselves also. Even like charter conflict of interest, promise, code of conduct, every month gratification report. So if we have values, absolutely we will not violate that one. That's represent of our moral values and moral foundation actually.
Okay, thank you so much for your answers. That was really great explanations and examples of how moral values can influence and help you continue with your decision making process,
Yes.
especially in your different business contexts and different professional lives.
Yeah.
So, moving on to the next question, I just want to know, we'll go more in depth into the different types of points, which are moral neglect, moral justification, and moral inaction. So, in your opinion, what are the strategies to avoid these three in your organizational or business decision making? Maybe we can go with our online guest first. Maybe Mr. Isra, you can explain a little bit in your professional experience.
Okay, thank you. Because we work with a lot of people that have a medium to low educational background, because all of them is the driver that distribute the fuel to the SPBU. And I think the strategies to avoid the moral neglect, justification, and inaction is the foster an environment where the employees feel comfortable to discussing ethical dilemmas and seeking input from the others, because the encourage diverse perspective and create forum for the ethical discussion. This allow for more comprehensive understanding, because we and other employees maybe have an ethical issues, or we need to promote some collective decision making that incorporate board range of a viewpoint. I mean that maybe the problem is just a simple problem, but it can be triggered to a bigger problem that can be a ticking bomb. So I think the best strategies in my business is the make the employee feel comfortable discussing about ethical dilemmas and seeking input from the others. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Isra, for your explanation. Maybe we can have Mr. Iski. You can give us a little bit more about your insight.
Okay, thank you. Um, about avoiding moral neglect, moral justification, and moral inaction within an organization requires a conscious effort to maintain an ethical culture, make a moral consideration integral to decision-making process. At least I can describe 5 strategies to help address this issue. First, we have to promote ethical leadership at all levels of the organization. Leaders should set a positive example by consistently demonstrating ethical behavior, openly discussing moral issues, and making morally responsible decisions. Second, we have to establish a clear set of values, principles, and ethical standards that reflect the organization's commitment to moral conduct. Communicate these values to all employees and ensure they are integrated into the organization's policies, codes of conduct, and decision-making frameworks. Provide uh, Third, provide regular training and education programs on ethics and moral reasoning. This program can help employees understand ethical dilemmas, develop moral decision-making skills, and create awareness about the importance of moral consideration in the workplace. Fourth, maintain an environment where employees feel comfortable discussing ethical concerns and dilemmas openly. Encourage them to raise questions, share perspective, and seek guidance on moral issues without fear of retribution. And the last, we have to implement decision-making process that explicitly incorporate moral considerations. Encourage employees to consider the potential ethical implication of their action and provide frameworks such as ethical decision-making models to guide their analysis. By implementing these strategies, organizations can actively address moral neglect, moral justification, and moral inaction, to maintain an ethical environment where employees are empowered to make morally responsible decisions. That's all my answer. Thank you.
Thank you for our online guests. Maybe we can move on to Mr. Panchar. Do you have any insight?
Thank you, Sydney. I was impressed with the uh, Mr. Rizky answers, response. So I have no many words with that. I think he was talking quite many about this one, how to avoid the moral neglect, moral justification, moral inactions. Um, Maybe the approachment for this one, first of all, if I'm not mistaken, um, leaders takes big portion for this one into the environment. If the leaders, like Mr. Rizky said, that this is about the ethical leader. So leaders give the example to the teams how to bring ethical, how to bring values, how to bring morals during the working. So I think everyone will follow. Even though in one conditions, the challenge of leaders sometimes leaders in a difficult situation because of carrying out quite many interests. So these interests sometimes, like I can say, this like waving into the deep mindset of the leaders, and it becomes like probation to their morals, how to bring and how to give the best decision. So this one will be elaborated and strengthened by their team self. So if I'm not mistaken, it's called as collective collegial. So the leaders shall be open-minded and to bring the situation not only by themselves, bring the situations, describe how difficult they are facing this problem, and get feedback from the teams. Make it very transparent. There's nothing covered by anyone. So make it as open as possible. So it will make the situation become clear, and also the decision, I believe it will be the best decisions for not only the team, even for the around the ecosystem of our businesses. And the second, uh, absolutely system shall be built very good, yeah, because human can be wrong at any time, but system are rigid. System doesn't have any tolerance. So the systems can contain about the regulations, about the what is the I can say as the flexibility. So you can be like this up to this side and decide. So it become like flexibility where we are going. And the second, after the regulation, you have to build some system if the regulation being violated. One of them, as we call as whistle blower system. So everyone having temperance, having freedom at any time, at anywhere, they can report if anyone violates about the moral, about the values, about the regulations. So everyone having awareness that they are being watched out by any people surrounding. About this is can be like a watchdog. So I think it will bond it everyone to not violate the regulation. And the next is everyone, I believe, as a human, as the theory Maslow, Maslow theory, everyone need to be respected, need to be rewarded. And if they cannot follow the regulation, they need to be punished. So a clear limitation regarding this, and also the about the rewarding things when they can get these rewards. I think it will motivate all people to do this about the moral values. So I think like moral neglect, absolutely they will not neglect with these three components in addition to the uh, Mr. Rizky explanations. And moral justification, it's clear target, it's clear limitation, it's clear about the setting. So everyone being in a justice. So everyone can be punished, everyone can be rewarded, everyone can do as many things they want to do. And the third about the moral in action, yeah, moral in action, as long as people already having this kind of supporting system, I think moral in action also can be freely did by everyone. So good action, bad action, that will be belongs. But again, if a leader's having good morals and everyone uh, aware with the another one people, I think this kind of good ecosystem for the business decision making can be made uh, in every company. That is additional to Mr. Iski and Mr. Isro's explanation from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Panchar. Mr. Krishna, maybe you have something more to
Yeah.
add.
Yes, thank you very much. So I think this is quite a good explanation from Mr. Iski, Mr. Isro, and Mr. Panchar. Yeah. So yes, we have three the points of moral, yeah, called moral neglect, moral justification, and moral inaction. So I think the moral neglect, that if somebody's neglected or just forgets about morality when they perform some actions, there are some causes that I think can be in that situations. First, I think the person is not informed enough about the impact of what will be caused if they neglect the morality. For example, they can perform some bribery or like corruptions. They don't know the impact. Maybe they think that like small corruptions that can have small impact, but it's not. Sometimes it's not also the reputation of himself, but also the reputation of the company. So sometimes the people is not well informed or is not well educated. Yeah, that's why in the system there must be an education system for or education or trainings about ethicals or about code of conduct in the company, yeah. Because it makes people realize the action that they perform can harm themselves or also the sustainability of the company. Yeah. That's the moral neglect. Another other thing that if we talk about moral justifications, so sometimes people uh, okay, it's good for me, it's good for company, but I don't have the motivation to do that. Yeah, what is the justifications I need to do moral? But also this is can reflect on this personal responsibility to always bring this value in his life or her life. Yeah, because and then we must know that there are tools in the company, in the organization, that can be used to justify your moral actions. For example, there are some tools like the standard charters, the code of conduct, yeah, and some initiative program, also the compliance program that also justify you in the company to perform a moral action. This kind of tool also can be found anywhere else, not only the company but also in the relationship with the government. For example, here there are like supervisions from the governments to make us always makes a moral justification in our action. That's for examples. And then the last thing is the moral inaction. Yeah, sometimes we don't have um, a courage, or we don't speak up about our moral issue. So I think one of the key what is a speak up? Yeah, speak up means that someone must have a, a psychological safety in order to him or his she informs what is this a moral issue without being punished, yeah, being bullied or being punished, because he has a certain comfortability to speak up if there is like a moral inaction. For example, there is a whistleblower or harassment in the workplace. The lady or this woman must speak up because sometimes she or sigh or etc. The lady or the object of harassment must think that he's covered or protected when the people speak, yeah, about this moral issue. Yeah. So I think a speak up, like the declaration of gratifications, the declarations of or reportings about this issue must be one of the initiatives that can be performed in order us to avoid this moral inaction. Yeah. So I think that's the key word, speak up for everyone to talk about this moral issue and use all the tools means to bring this issue to the organizations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for all your answers. It was very comprehensive. Hopefully, all these strategies of mitigating moral neglect, moral justification, and moral inaction are well implemented in your workplace to avoid any issues about unethical subjects.
Yeah.
So, for our last question, I want to go more into detail on the way the four theories of ethics, which are deontological ethic, consequentialism, virtue ethic, and stakeholder theory. So, how do these four theories inform you about solving ethical issues and dilemmas in your business decision making? Maybe we can go break it up into different topics. We can start with Mr. Iski first.
Okay, thank you for the questions. First, I want to explain to utilize stakeholder theory to solve ethical dilemmas in my company in Alum. We begin by identifying the stakeholders who are affected by in-alum operations. Um, this may include employees, local communities, and government suppliers, and environmental organization and shareholders and other shareholders. We assess their concerns, needs, and the potential impact of the regarding the ethical dilemma on them. Uh, and then after clearly define the ethical dilemmas faced by Nalums, it could involve, for example, it could involve issues such as environmental pollution, workers' rights, community displacement, or unfair competition. We analyze the potential consequences of each dilemmas, both in terms of ethical implication and their impact on stakeholder. And then we engage with the stakeholders to understand their perspective, concern, and expectation. Uh, this can be done through surveys, interviews, public consultations, and maybe we open forums and actively listen to their feedback, suggestions, and criticism. Uh, and last, based on the analysis of ethical dilemmas and stakeholder engagements, we develop ethical guidelines and policies that reflect the interests and concern all relevant stakeholders. And then we use these guidelines as framework for decision making and action. Furthermore, in within Inalum operations. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Iski, for your answer. Next, Mr. Krisa, maybe you can have your
Okay.
answer.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. So I will talk about what this theory from deontological point of view. Okay. So for the decision making, deontological theory is it means that we perform moral or ethical business actions based on a series of principles, law, and regulation that is currently valid. Yeah. So if we face some ethical dilemma in the decision making, this deontological bring you to consider all these law, regulation, and principles that is still ongoing to come back on this morals as a moral duty, yeah, before you take the action decision. So it's a guide you to consider and to remind you all the time if your business dilemma, when you face a business dilemma, there are some law and regulations consideration that need to be considered, and there are, I think, the law, for examples, the law of the labor's law, yeah, for example, about the minimum wages. Yeah. We can, for example, if we want to pay somebody very low because we want to take very much more advantage for our company, deontologicals bring you to consider that there is some law, yeah, there is some law that have a limit of the wages, not to pay this small amount of money, but they have minimum standards amount of money. We call this UMR, yeah, in Balikpapan, for example, to pay these people with the minimum wages. So it's always it encourage you to uphold the moral principles, yeah, and moral duty as individuals and also organizations to remind you that there is like a law and regulation and that we must comply all the time to in if we face an ethical dilemma. Thank you, Jimmy.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Krisa. Maybe we can have our other online participant. Maybe Mr. Isra, you help us with this question.
Okay, and especially in virtue ethics. Virtue ethics also recognized as important context and moral judgment in ethical decision making. Because in the work field, we work with so many people, education, religion, culture, age, and we cannot make all people happy with our decision. Maybe with that some part of people, employees, it's good for them, and maybe the others, maybe this decision is not good for the others people. So it will be dilemmatic in making business decision. But I think in the virtue ethics, this is the ethical theory that places emphasis on the development of virtuous character, trait, and moral judgment. And it's important that cultivating virtue and making morally good choice based on one of character and practical wisdom is very important in here. For example, as we discussed before about the leadership, and a leader should not use his power or abuse of authority for his personal benefit, whether it is mistreating others or not, but uphold honesty, transparency, and ethic in all aspects of company operation is the mirroring the leadership about the virtue ethic that they applied in the work field. And then I think the value of justice at least can be reflected in business decision making to make the providing equal opportunities for all members of the company, respecting human rights, and help other people. I think that one is the good example of the virtue ethics. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Isra. Maybe for the final theory of ethic, Mr. Pancar, you can describe.
Okay, thank you, Sydney. Last about the consequentialist ethics. Point of view of this consequentialist ethics. Yeah, consequential is the cause and effect It can consist of advantage and disadvantage. Theoretical, it will brings into the utilitarianism and also self-interest. So simply when we are doing the business and we are um, thinking or reflecting this point of view of consequentialist, every single about the way we are doing the business. So maybe we think about what will be the advantage and disadvantage. For example, if we are doing the financial report fraud or making like imitations of these financial reports. So what is the benefit? Maybe short term, it looks like our company having a financial statement that brings that company in a health situation or condition that will bring the investor. However, in the disadvantage, if something happened and it was found as the one of the fraud made by the company, then the company reputation also has the risks afterwards. Maybe nowadays we heard about the Juventus, right? Juventus Football Club. They exaggerate the transfer fee of the players, then they were being banned for a penalty points, and it will be very bad to the football club, also the football club image and also their fans really disappoint. So that is one of the sample of this consequentialist ethics, and the others maybe that is one of example with the bad things, and the good things vice versa. If the company doing the good one also, it will grow step by step into the right way. They would like to expand their business. For example, like we have our Indonesian startup Kopi Kenangan. They are doing the business in a very good way. They are attracted the investor with the transparent way, and they are doing their business also without any gimmicks and with a very strategic uh, uh, strategic way, yeah. So they can expand their company, and the investor also put trust into their business day by day, become bigger every day. So that is the last from the ethical ethics point of view. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your answers. Also, I just want to say thank you for your time and for attending today's talk show. We learned a lot about business ethics, especially on your application and how you use it in day to day life. We learned a little bit about different types of moral issues like moral neglect, moral justification, and moral inaction, and your different strategies of how to mitigate it in your different business and professional lives, as well as the four theories of ethics and how it informs you about solving ethical issues. And we learned it in four different examples. Thank you so much for your time. We learned a lot today. Hopefully, this insight is very helpful for the MBA.